You're back, brother. I think you got cut off at. You think that getting 10K per month were gonna make you fulfilled, and then you got cut off.
Yeah, and all that I'd get older women, all these different things. But really, what I realized here this like last period is like it's just not the money. It's building a character. I was fooling myself by being like I was 16 and I only worked on my business and like oh yeah I'm going to have a business and stuff like that. But I wasn't going out approaching girls. I wasn't going to the gym boxing. I wasn't doing all these different things that I actually knew deep down would build me more like mentally than just working a little bit, watching a little bit more YouTube videos and outreaches on MMA and just procrastinating. So, well, you're in a position right now where you can not make those mistakes and just build your character. Because I promise you, if you start boxing right now and if you start approaching girls cold and you start getting good at those things, you're building a character and you'll be way happier and way more fulfilled by building a character instead of just saying, okay, I'm lacking all these areas, but I've got a little bit of money in my bank account. Because just with money, you're still a loser if you don't like overcome that self doubt in different areas of your life. So I mean, just don't put the money on the pedestal, man. I would never look at somebody who's making 10K per month but has nothing going for them in any other areas of their life. I'd never look at them as successful. I'd be like, you pussy. You got 10K a month bank, but you can't box.
Yeah.
That's me, by the way. I'm gonna start like taking up boxing this month.
Let's go. Good shit.
I tried boxing. I hated it.
Try jujitsu. 100%, bro. 100%. Like martial arts in general will build your character a lot. Like I first tried jujitsu when I did jujitsu and Muay Thai when I was 17, and I was like, fuck, this is the shit. But then I stopped doing it. I went into the army for 2 years. So came out of the army. After a few months being out of the army, I was like, let me get back into martial arts. Let me get back into jiu. So I picked jujitsu. And fuck, bro. Like, what that did for my character was insane. I'm naturally a big guy. I'm 185, so I'm 6'1" and 85 kilos. So I was used to walking into rooms and being like, oh yeah, I'm the shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll whoop your fucking ass. What are you talking to me about? Like, I'll kick your fucking ass. Dude, I walked into a jiu-jitsu gym. I was getting my ass handed to me by like mid 30-year-old Korean men who are like 60 kilo. Like 60 kilo. And they're like, just little. Dude, if you saw them on the street, you'd be like, you would think that you'd kick this person's ass. Like, whatever. But dude, I was getting mauled by them. And it wasn't like I was playing and I wasn't trying. Like, bro, I was getting fucked so bad that I would end the first few training sessions of jiu-jitsu. I poured my all into it, really, to the point. But by the end of the fucking class, I went to the toilet to puke. Because I was like, that's the level of physical exhaustion that I brought myself to. Multiple classes, I had to shake hands with everyone after the class and go straight to the toilet, lock myself in the toilet and like fucking puke. So, yeah. So that was an extremely humbling experience. And I was getting my ass beat by women, bro. Like, women who were small, very small, like, again, like 60 kilo, 50 something kilo. It's getting choked out by these women. So it fucks with your mind. You're like, yeah, I'm really not whatever the fuck I thought I was. Like, I'm not. And then you have to humble yourself and you have to be like, okay, let me learn. And it always felt like a sobering. I need to figure out how to describe this. But I don't know, maybe it's a man thing, but something about survival, it's so core to you as a human being. There are so few experiences in the modern day where all 5 of your senses are engaged in one singular thing, and it's survival. There's almost nothing like getting that kind of experience in your modern comfort fucking day. Like, you're always going to have food on the table tomorrow. For every tomorrow for the rest of your life. Like, that's never going to be a survival issue for you. But when someone's trying to choke you the fuck out, and all 5 of your senses are engaged in one single activity, which is don't get choked out, don't get choked out, don't die, like survive. Like there's something just primal about that, where there's like a convergence of your fucking consciousness or something. I don't know, I'm not a fucking like spiritual expert, but I would walk out of those sessions feeling rejuvenated in a weird way. Despite all my energy, physical energy being sucked out of my fucking body, I would still leave those training sessions feeling like I had made progress towards being the kind of man that I'd actually want to be. And so it was it's like a deep kind of spiritual progress. It's like extremely strange, but I would walk out of those feeling like, yeah, my mind was full of bullshit when I walked into that training session, and now it's all gone. And like nothing can even bother me now. Like if someone walked past me and slapped me, I wouldn't there's just so few things that can bother you after you have just spent an hour trying to basically kill or be killed by other men. Like there's almost nothing that can fuck with you after that. You're like, I'm good. Like girls acting up, nah, I'm good, I'm fine. I'm not like, nothing can fuck with you. So it's very interesting. And the last thing that I'll say on this is that learning martial arts also makes you less violent. And I'm not saying this empirically, I don't have a study to back this up, but your ego gets destroyed when you do martial arts. Like my ego got destroyed. Like I said, I always thought I was big shit, like I'm like buff, tall, whatever. My ego got decimated, right? So like what that does is it actually makes you less prone to being a violent person, because now whenever like if any kind of physical confrontation comes up, you actually know, one, you kind of know that you can defend yourself, so you don't feel so insecure and you're not going to lash out. But two, you realize that you don't know what the other guy knows. So like when you're ignorant to martial arts and you're ignorant of how useless you really are and how easily you can be killed, when you're ignorant of those things, you'll pick a fight with someone because, bro, like, what? I'm big, I'm strong, fuck with me. Like, you'll pick a fight because you don't know, right? But once you start doing martial arts, you realize, hang on, I don't know what this guy knows. He might be a fucking black belt at jiu-jitsu for all I know. All I see is a bespectacled Korean man who's like, looks like he weighs 60 kilo. I'll kick his ass. What the fuck does he know, right? But once you start doing martial arts, you realize, holy fuck, these guys that look small and inconspicuous and like, they can still kill me. So you realize that you don't know what everybody else knows. So you're much, much less likely to want to pick a fight with someone because you're like, look, I don't want fucking trouble. Like, for all I know, you're going to kick my ass. Or for all I know, I'm going to kick your ass. But look, I don't want to find out. You know? So, yeah. So for those reasons, like, it makes you more confident because you can walk into a room with an air of confidence that you wouldn't have previously had. Because before, it was unsubstantiated. Like when you're untrained in any kind of martial arts, any kind of physical confidence that you have is completely baseless and unsubstantiated. But once you start training martial arts, slowly over time, you start to build real confidence. Why? Because you're actually stacking evidence that you can defend yourself in a fight. Each time you go into a training gym for martial arts, you're stacking evidence, like real evidence that, okay, I can actually do this. Okay, I can actually defend myself. Okay, if somebody comes at me like this, I know what to do, right? But before you build that, whatever you think about who you're going to beat up and like, bro, I see red, it's all unsubstantiated, right? Only once you've started training, then you're like, okay, not only do I not want to fuck with anyone, but if I do get fucked with and I have no choice, here's the proof that I can actually defend myself. So then you have real confidence. And if you watch the Gravitas video on my channel, you'll know that I was just talking about this confidence and that people can tell the difference.
Yeah.
That, like, there's no substitute for real evidence. One of my best friends, he's actually in this community because I added him, has been doing MMA, like mixed martial arts, for like a number of years. and he was the MMA club president for his university and all this kind of thing. So now, if you saw my friend on the street, you instantly might, like, if you're someone who's my size, you'd look at him and be like, I'd kick the fuck out of you. That's what you'd think. But bro, this man, not only is there nothing that you could say to this man to faze him, because he's been in every kind of like physical confrontation, like bro's done MMA for years, right? So not only could you not faze him, but you'd feel like such an idiot for even trying, because he's so calm. And then if you did swing on him, he'd kick the fucking shit out of you too. So there's no winning. Like, there is really no winning. And just imagine that, right? Like, imagine actually being able to be calm like that. Because remember, like, I brought up the example of calmness being a virtue, but it's only a virtue when it's something that is tested. Meaning, you're calm now, your heart rate might be low because you're sitting at home. But if there was someone with a knife in front of you, now would you still be calm? There's a difference between the man that's calm on the couch but loses his shit when he's about to get in a fight, versus the man who's calm on the couch and also calm right before the fight. Like, that man is able to be that because he has evidence, he has proof that if things go bad, I'm still fine. But you're not calm in that situation because you're like, if things go bad, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Like, if he puts me in a chokehold, I don't know how to get out. I actually don't know. So that's where things get tensed up, and that's where, because it's like, if he swings on me in a certain way, I've never been swung like that on before, so I don't know what's going to happen. Versus my friend who's been doing MMA for like 5 years or whatever, like, there is no punch you can throw at him that he hasn't already been thrown at him like a few hundred times. So he's good. He's chilling. He's like, I know what to do. I'm fine. So there's no substitute for that kind of confidence. You can't fake that shit. And people know. People can tell. They can tell when you're getting clammy and when you're getting... And then that's when they're like, this guy hasn't fought before. This guy doesn't know his shit. But when someone starts provoking you and you're just dead fucking calm, they actually get terrified. Because they're like, what? People normally shit their pants when I say that to this guy. Why is this guy so calm? Fuck, he must know something. Fuck, okay, maybe I don't want to fuck with this guy. Because he's clearly trained in something. Because people don't act this way if they're not trained. He's clearly trained. I don't want to fuck with him anymore. That's what happens.
It's kind of like a little unconsciously. So my question was, how should we judge people? And how can we develop like critical thinking? How can we think for ourselves instead of just taking other person's opinion? Because as you said, I think if it's either a call or a video, man, like you're the same on the calls or and in the video. So I don't remember where you said it. But you said like you're just another bot, or I think you said it on your EF document or something. Yeah.
Yes. Brother, that is a great question. And that is actually what my upcoming video is about. It's about how the pitfall of every modern man on self-improvement, the pitfall is being dogmatic, right? So being dogmatic basically means taking a principle or a belief that has been given to you from an authority, taking that as incontrovertible truth. So mistaking that belief or that opinion of whoever it is that you trust and whoever is an authority, and then you take it as truth, right? Huge problem. Because, and the reason we do it is it's energy conservation. One, it's energy conservation for the brain, and two, it's pattern recognition. So earlier when you were saying you make judgments about someone very quickly, what your brain is doing is it's doing pattern recognition. So someone will say something and you say, I've heard this before. I've heard it from this when this other person said it. What was that other person like? They were like this. Okay, you're like this. It's pattern recognition, right? Because you're like, I've seen this pattern before. I know what these words mean. I heard them in this other circumstance, right? So like the last person who said this thing was like this, so you must be like this too. Like your brain will just form judgments because it knows. It's like, I know this, I've seen this before, right? So how I go about, because my brain does that too, right? As long as your brain is just working very quickly to do pattern recognition, you can't avoid this. But what you can do is be conscious of it like you are. When I'm talking to a new person and they say something, and my brain will just go like, dumb fuck, NPC, bot, right? Like, my brain will just like, if I had Tourette's, bro, it's over. Like, it's game over, bro. Like, I would say the most fucked up stuff. Like, so someone will be saying something to me, and my brain will just go, bot, you're a fucking bot. And then I have to be like, okay. Like, in my head, in my own brain, I have to be like, okay, chill. I don't know that. What's making me make this judgment? It's because they said this. Okay, let me ask them a question and see what they actually think about it. Because I'm now extrapolating, right? Pattern recognition. I'm extrapolating. You said this, therefore you think this, therefore you are this person, therefore, like, I'm extrapolating. So I stop that by saying, okay, Chris, let's ask them. Hey, so earlier you mentioned this, like, I'm curious, what do you actually think about this? And then they start to talk, and a lot of the time you'll realize that your extrapolation was wrong. Because people are individuals, right? And to the degree that that person isn't just ideologically possessed, if they are, then your pattern recognition will probably be very accurate. But if they're not, and if they're actually a thinking, autonomous person, they might say stuff that you didn't think they were going to say. And then you feel like the idiot for judging them too quickly. You know what I mean? So that's how I solve the problem. I recognize the judgment in myself, and I go, okay, Chris, you're just making baseless judgments now. So do you care about this thing that you're judging them about? If you care about it, let's ask them. Let's clarify. Let's hear it from them. And if they tell me that they believe this thing, then I will make a judgment. But I'm not going to do that on assumptions in my head, because that's unhealthy, right? You just start to make a bunch of assumptions about what a person thinks when you don't know what they think because they haven't fucking said it. You just think you're smarter than them and that you can predict what they're thinking, right? So that's one. Two, on the just taking opinions of other people and just being a bot, the character, I'm going to talk about this in my next upcoming YouTube video, so that's going to be good. But I'll share a little bit now. The common property of someone who is a bot, by definition, a bot is someone who is just programmed and they don't think for themselves, right? They're not conscious. So what that means is that you're just taking in opinions, beliefs, stances, desires from other people, and you're deciding to, okay, this is now mine, right? This is now what I think. Right? Like Tate says something about like a certain kind of girl, and you're like, okay, this is now what I think about this kind of girl.
Yeah.
And it's not because that's what you, but it's because you look up to Tate, and so you're dogmatic about it. You're just like, okay, well, he was right about this other thing, so he must also be right about this. I'm just gonna listen. Okay? Why? Why does your brain do that? It's energy conservation. Okay? Because the brain is extremely, extremely concerned with being efficient. The brain wants answers, pronto, let's get to the answers, right? So it's so much easier to be dogmatic. Why? Because you don't have to think. You can act faster, you can do things faster, right? Someone tells you, bro, look, it's just this way. Then you're like, okay, simple, it's just this way. Okay, now I can just take action. It's fast, it's efficient, right? And so the brain wants efficiency. The brain wants the answers now. Let's go fast. I want to know. So if Hamza says like, okay, look, like in this situation, bro, like you're fucked. Like this girl is like this, like that, you're completely fucked. It's easy. It's so easier for you to just be like, yeah, he's right. I'm fucked. Okay. That's it. And I can just adopt that opinion, even though it's not my own. But I respect this guy. Maybe he was right about this other thing, and he was right about a couple of other things. And so it's just more efficient for my brain. I don't have to think so much. I can just be like, yeah, okay, Hamza's right about this. Yep. Okay, that's now my opinion, and I will now defend this opinion. This is where it gets like very ideological, which not only do you make the opinion yours, but then you defend it as well, right? Because if someone else now comes and says, well, hey, but don't you think that you're jumping the gun here, da, 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 then you will start to defend another person's opinion that's not even fucking yours. And because you haven't thought it through, you can't defend it properly either, so then you sound like an idiot. And then you just reveal to the world that you're not a thinking person for yourself, right? So why dogma is bad, why being dogmatic is bad, is because you're training your brain the wrong way. Okay, you're training your brain not to come to a decision yourself and come to an opinion yourself, but to take the opinion of an authority. So, what happens when you encounter the next problem in a different aspect of your life that this authority that you've been relying on can no longer help you with? What are you going to do? You're going to look for another authority. You're going to wait for more instructions from someone. Because you're like, now I don't know what to do here, and there's no one to help me. What do? Option A is think for myself, which I've never done, right? I haven't been flexing that muscle. I haven't been training my brain to think for myself. I've only been training my brain to follow authority and wait for instruction. So then when you run into a problem, what do? You look for instructions. You start to scroll on YouTube. What does this person have to say about this issue? Because, what's Hamza's opinion on this? Because I'm running into an issue here and I don't know what to do. So what's Jordan Peterson had to say about this? And what did Tate think about this? Because you can't think for yourself anymore and you're relying on the authority. You're waiting for an instruction from them. So you can be like, yes, that's what I have to do. Okay, yes, I'm just going to do that. All right. So that's why dogma is dangerous, because you train your brain to stop thinking for itself and to just wait for an instruction or a belief system from an authority so that you can just adopt that. Right? So, yeah. It's dangerous, but you can understand why your brain does it, right? Again, because it comes from a place of efficiency. Yeah, it's like we want to move fast, So questioning everything is not conducive to moving fast, right? Because if you have to question everything, that takes time, it takes effort. You have to think for yourself, right? Which is difficult. But
doesn't also questioning everything leaves you a bit lost? Because if you question everything, you never have this solid principle that you can follow.
Yes, that's exactly it, right? So questioning everything will leave you feeling pretty lost, right? A lot of the time. And that takes so much work to get to feel unlost without still being dogmatic. Because you can imagine if the core principles of your life and the way that you run your life, let's say you center your life around the same belief systems as like Tate, for example. If someone removed that, there is now a gap there. And that gap is the feeling of lostness that you're now describing. That gap now causes this feeling of loss, like this feeling of misery and feeling lost, because what was guiding you is now gone. So now you're like, fuck, how do I act in the world properly? And you will be so tempted to cling to the next dogma, a different one. Let me just put something else in that spot to replace it, because I desperately need a way to orient myself in the world. And like, this is what happens to some people when they convert religious faiths, for example, right? Let's say for one reason or another, they've hit a point in their brain where they're like, hang on, I think I just don't really believe in this thing anymore, right? That I used to believe in. And then they get sent into nihilism, right? They get sent into just, holy shit, this entire belief structure that I was using to orient myself in the world, I now have some reason to believe that it's untrue. Boom. And then it shatters everything that they're using to orient themselves. And so that's such a problematic state to be in, that your brain will look for the next thing to cling to, for some stability, for some way to navigate. Yeah. So this is the central problem with unfortunately, with ideology and just with dogma in general, is that once you get used to it, it's so difficult to stop being ideological, because you will just jump from one ideology to the next, because that's how your identity is formed. If I'm a radical feminist and I'm exposed to enough information that makes me feel like, fuck, maybe like this feminism thing that I've been fucking with for years, maybe it's actually not great, and maybe I don't want to be associated with it anymore. But that's been the way that I've looked at the world for so many years. So now that's removed from my life. It won't be soon before long, like that I'm now, like veganism is the next thing now for me. Like veganism is the next ideology that I'm going to use to define myself. Because I need something to ground me. And then once I realize that I actually fucking love meat, then what? Like, fuck, I love steaks. Now what? Like, it's like, fuck, now I'm gonna look for the next thing. So I'm gonna like, now the ism that I'm gonna use to define my identity might be Buddhism. It might be postmodernism. Something to give me that, some kind of ideology to give me a sense of identity. So it's really, really a deep problem. And you can tell why
I can see now why it's so hard to write that script.
Brother, it's so hard. Yeah. Yeah, fucking hell. Like,
Dogma is bad.
But I could also say that recently I've been becoming more aware of that too, that I've been judging people like straight away, like by how they look or what they say. He said that. He's the type of person. He looks like this, and he must be this type of person. And I've been becoming more aware of that recently. I'm like, oh, if this guy's if he's ugly, then he must be like he must not love himself or something. I mean, that might be true, but like it's not true for everybody. But yeah.
It feels like it came out of nowhere. Also, like it feels like we didn't used to have it.
Yeah, I think it's because we got more polarized. Like, the more we start to listen to all of the influential figures that we listen to, because they're so polarizing. And
they're extreme.
They're extreme. And they didn't start out that way either. So when you started listening to them, you were like, oh yeah, like this makes sense. He's right about this. He said to take this action in my life. I took that action. My life improved. I trust him now, And then as they start to say more and more outlandish things, you kind of run into the halo effect where, well, I believed him before and it worked and it was good and it was true, so I'm going to believe him now as well. And then you just get sucked in. You get sucked into it. And you start to not be able to distinguish truth statements from belief statements. And you start to just adopt the beliefs of this person. And you take it as truth. That's the problem. You confuse their belief statements with statements of truth.
A question, Chris.
What's up, brother?
How would you say you got better at like public speaking and like storytelling and just speaking more articulately?
Great question.
Very good question. Very, very good question. Seek out difficult conversations with your friends if possible. Spend more time with the kind of friends that you can talk very open-endedly with. So what I started doing is those friends where you just have kind of shorter conversations, very small talky stuff, I just started to hang out with them less. And I started to hang out more with those friends where you sit down in a room with them and you can talk for like an hour, Yeah. I would say spend more time with those kind of friends, because it forces you to really articulate yourself better, especially if you ask them like difficult questions about their life and they ask you difficult questions about your life. So you have to trust these people, right? They have to actually be your friends. But it'll force you to tell stories about yourself and your life, maybe even your childhood. And through fumbling around, you'll start those kind of friendships with like lots of ums and ahs and you know, like this thing, you'll start it with a lot of that, but it's natural. And yeah, I would say that's the most organic way that I can think of to improve your actual public speaking is force yourself to speak in public a lot. I don't know if you're still in school, but you know those awkward moments in class where like everyone needs like the first person to get something going? Like the teacher will say like, okay, can we have someone to like start the discussion on this thing? And then everybody's just silent. Like, I know this sucks, but just be the first motherfucker to be like, yep, all right, I'll do it. Like, without fail, every time I just do that. And it's not because I'm trying to gain favor with the teacher. Like, it's never been that. I've never tried to, it's not because I'm trying to gain favor with the teacher. It's not because I'm trying to like look cool to my friends. But it's because I know that this is such a painful, like, it's such a painful public speaking situation with so much pressure that I'm like, yeah, I gotta do this because like, this is fucked up. But if I can just keep doing this, like, no public speaking can faze me if I can just be the first motherfucker to speak every single time. Yeah, 100%. Oh, thanks, Jay. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Yeah, like a while back, I went for some party that my friend was hosting, and it was kind of like this cute little like singles party thing. This was back when I was single, obviously. And like they lined all the guys and the girls up, and then one by one made us like give our best pickup lines and see like how many of the girls would like fuck with you after you said the pickup line, you know? And there was probably like 15 guys, and it's not like I was by far like the most charismatic or the best looking like guy there. I mean, I probably was, but but it wasn't like that was it. Like it wasn't like no one else there lifted. Like there were guys in good shape there. There were guys, you know, well dressed, well groomed, everything like that. But when it came down to this fucking pickup line thing, crickets. Fucking crickets from all of them. Obviously, the game hosts were like, all right, like men, like you guys go first, right? Fucking crickets, all of them. And so I was like, I'm gonna fucking go first. Like, these guys are all pussies. Like, I was just like, all right, let's go. I stood up and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be the first one. Let's go. An example to be like, dude, just be the first guy who stands up. Like, it shows that you're fucking confident, that you're not afraid to look like a bit of an idiot, you know? You're not afraid to, and it puts yourself on the spot. So it forces you to know how to speak when you're on the spot, which is what public speaking is about. Because like I said, like Sabino, if you can put yourself in those situations where you just hang out with your friends who you can talk to more, that's a great organic start. But obviously, speaking to your friends is so different than speaking in a microphone in front of a few hundred people, right? So I'd say the first step is speaking more to your friends, hang out with those friends that you can really converse long kinds of dialogue with. And then the next level up from that is start to expose yourself to those slightly more stressful, pressurizing situations where in class or at work or whatever, like be the first guy who force yourself to speak up first. And then slowly you just start to get, it never gets less scary. That's a misconception that I think a lot of people have. It never gets less scary, but you just get less controlled by the fear, you know? So, yeah, you just get less blocked. Like, you know that blockage you get in your like chest and throat sometimes where you're like, for some reason you can't get the words out. What was that?
You feel like you kind of
feel like what?
you can't get out. You like freeze and you can't get your words out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like so the fear doesn't go away, but that blockage slowly goes away once you expose yourself to those situations more. Yeah, I think. I mean, I'll speak maybe just from a little bit of experience. if the girl is actually feminine at her core, then she will actually long for a masculine balance to that, like inside, like spiritually. Now, that might not be conscious, right? That longing might not be conscious, like meaning she might not ever explicitly say, oh, I want a man that can take care of me. I want a man that I can feel safe around. She might not ever explicitly say these things. But once that force becomes present in her life, she'll be like, holy fuck, like it'll get promoted into her conscious brain, like, holy fuck, I didn't know that this was possible to feel this way. How have I been living my life without feeling this way? I need this thing. But that's not to say anything about looks yet, right? We haven't talked about looks. So that's just in terms of if you're thinking outside of looks, do I have to embody more feminine traits? I would say generally no. Sometimes maybe yes, but generally no, because if she is a really feminine woman, then she will actually long for a balance of your masculinity. Now, in terms of physical traits, I have also been in relationships with women who, prior to me, they would look at like K-pop stars, like very feminine face men, and like idolize them, or like, like look up, not look up to them, but like would desire that. And then I came along. And then, even though I wasn't like their, if you lined up maybe the guys that they dated before me and me, it's different. Like I don't have a cute face. I have sharp features and all this kind of thing. So to them as well, they'd be like, I didn't know that I was attracted to this, but then you came along and now I'm like, oh fuck, I am attracted to this. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's also a matter of not knowing, like, and this is as a man or a woman, like sometimes you just don't know what you're attracted to until you're attracted to it and you're like, oh fuck, like I didn't know this was a thing. Like I'll give you an example. Like I didn't know I was attracted to a girl being very good with kids until I saw it with my own eyes. And I was like, holy fuck, that's attractive. And it like unlocked something in my brain where I was like, I didn't know that I wanted this thing until now I see it. And I'm like, holy fuck, that's so attractive. So sometimes it's the same thing with looks. Like you don't know that you like a certain facial structure until you see it. And you're like, holy fuck, I'm really attracted to that. So yeah, sometimes it is a matter of that. It's just a matter of not knowing. Like, for example, what that girl said, like, she said, why am I always falling for these, like, fictional characters or people I can't have? Like, my response to that would just be, I'd just walk up to her and be like, oh, yeah, I heard you saying this thing, my bad. That's actually my fault. It's just because you haven't met me yet. Yeah, hi, I'm Chris. It's a good way to start. Yeah. So it's not like everything's malleable though. Like, of course, I want to give that preface because I do obviously know women that for one reason or another, they're just really attracted to like the cutesy features in a man's face. All right. Like I have female friends who have said directly to my face, they're like, Chris, I could not be attracted to you because your features are simply too sharp for me. Like, I've literally had female friends, like, because we're on such a level of closeness that we can just communicate about these things, right? And then, yeah, I've had a female friend straight up tell me, like everything about who you are is actually, like, really desirable to me, but I'm just not physically attracted to you. Like, your face. Like, you have a nice body and you have nice muscles and all these things, but I'm just not attracted to your sharp features. I like guys who have a bit more of a cutesy looking face. And I'm like, okay, cool.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? So, and yeah, like sometimes it's nice to just be cheeky. Especially when people are trying to make you feel awkward. Like, I think we talked about this before. but it's like not even accepting it as a frame. Like in sales, there's this idea of frames. So if your prospect, the person that you're selling to, is talking to you from a frame of fear and uncertainty and doubt, many people will make the mistake of entering that frame and like validating all their fears and their concerns and trying to reason with them about it. But really, you're fighting in their realm, and it's a losing battle because you've now accepted and validated their fears as true. So the alternative is to enter the conversation with a completely different frame and not even acknowledge the fucking frame that they have of like fear and whatever. Don't even acknowledge it. You just be like, no, actually, you enter the conversation with the frame of hope and possibility, and you just don't even acknowledge the fear, right? Like the moment you say like, I completely understand why you're feeling this way, and look, like then you're validating it and you're entering their frame. But if you enter the conversation with a completely different frame, and you say like, well, it's really interesting because based on like the call that we had earlier, like you mentioned this thing that you wanted, and I really think that we'd be a great fit for all of these reasons, and then you force them in order to have a conversation where it's not just two people talking past each other, someone has to enter someone else's frame. Otherwise,
that makes sense.
You're just both talking past each other. So someone has to enter someone else's frame. So you want to make the prospect realize that you're never going to join them in their frame of fear. And so they now have no choice but to join you in your frame of hope. And then when you start talking to them there, you have the upper hand and there's no way that they can win. Yeah, so applying that to this circumstance is like if someone comes at you with the frame of awkwardness, you just completely disregard it. You don't even treat it as real. Like you're just like, you just know. And
well,
you just
like Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold was also having a dinner with some competitors, and he was saying like, yeah, relax, bro, you look a bit tired. And they were saying something bad, and he would just brush it off and turn away, and like he wouldn't even take it. Like he wouldn't even register it. He would just keep thinking his own thing, and people would be like people would become like it felt like they were being programmed by him, and like they couldn't say anything, so they were forcefully pushed into his frame.
Yes.
Like just like you said, like, somebody has to enter someone's frame, and he didn't accept their frame, so they had to accept his.
100%, brother. That is literally what it is. Like, this really does work in social situations. You just don't accept the frame of awkwardness and you come in with the frame of like humor. They have to join you. Then they start laughing with you instead of, trying to make you feel awkward. And then you become the hero of the situation because you've turned something strange into something that everybody's now laughing about. Like you become the hero. I can give one small example of this, which I may have actually given this in a previous video, where I went to a Halloween party and I said, it was actually last year, and I didn't want to go, but my friends said, what would you have to do in order for you to go to the party? Like for you to let yourself go and have fun. I said, this week I need to close a client, like in my SMMA. I need to close a client before the party, and if I want to go to the party, I need to do 1,000 push-ups. Like, so the day before the party, I closed the client. So I was like, all right, fuck it. So now it was just 1,000 push-ups left. So I went to the party with a friend of mine. We're going to do 1,000 push-ups at this party. And he was like, what? 1,000? And he was like, why don't we just do 500? I was like, no. We're doing 1,000. And he's like, but I've never even attempted anything near that before. And I'm like, bro, me neither. But guess what? We're going to do a fucking 1,000 push-ups. So we get to that party. And for the first like 2 hours, bro, me and him are getting clowned by everybody. Like, not clowned in like a very, very negative sense, but just like that's so stupid. Like, why are you like all the girls, especially all the girls, they're like, That's so inappropriate for a party. Like, why are you doing 1,000 push? Oh, you just want to flex your muscles, don't you? Like, you just want to be this like tough guy, like big guy. Like, you're not doing the 1,000 push-ups because you care about it. You're doing it because you want to look cool in front of everyone, right? So I was catching this flack for hours. Everybody that saw us doing the push-ups would ask us about it, and then when we tell them, they would clown us, right? They'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're not really gonna do 1,000," or "Oh yeah, like you're just doing it to look cool at the party." I was like, "It's okay, like that's fine. I'm still gonna do them." And by the time we were at about 850, 900, bro, the entire party was emotionally invested in us completing the 1,000 push-ups. Literally, girls were coming up to me asking me, "What's the count? What's the count?" Like what's the count of push-ups that we've hit so far? And I'd be like 840, and they'd be like, "Oh, you guys are so close. You're so close," you know? And they'd be like, "Oh, can we get you some water or anything?" Like, you know, like literally they became so invested in us finishing the 1,000 push-ups that when we were at like 950, everybody was like, "What's the count now? Oh, it's 950. They're gonna finish, you know?" And then when we finally finished, people were congratulating us and stuff. So it just goes to show, right? I didn't enter their frame. They were forced to enter mine. And that was it. That's the end of the story. We became the heroes of the whole situation, right? From being the fucking idiots who were like just trying to be buff and just trying to like look cool, we became the fucking like heroes, you know? So that's so funny, bro.
I didn't know that was framing. I was just doing my own shit.
Yeah, literally. It's so interesting. But yeah, it's a nice mental model to use sometimes. You're like, "Oh yeah, I really just entered this person's frame and I didn't have to. Like maybe it would have been better if they entered my frame. Okay, next time I'm going to do it differently." Like it's just a nice mental model to use sometimes. Yeah.
I guess I'm taking notes during this course because we've covered so many things, so much. I think, yeah, bro. Thank you. I think people who are going to join the community, they're gonna be like, "Fuck, each call is so packed, like so many things that I can learn." Yeah, but I gotta go to bed now, bro.
Same. I have to go to bed too.
Yeah.
But
So,
I actually
an hour and
recorded.
40 minutes.
I started recording this call on Loom instead of on like Zoom. So I started recording it pretty much when you were asking Oscar some questions. So yeah, so I've recorded about an hour and 14 minutes of this call. So I'll upload the Monday's call first, and then I'll upload the community call as well, so they'll both be here.
Okay, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This was an amazing call, bro. Look, each call is amazing, but I don't know, like it just keeps getting better for some reason, or maybe it's just the ideas get more intense or something. But anyway, I love when we talk like this, honestly.
Yeah, I'm very glad, brother. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave now. It's like 12:41 p.m. a.m.
Oh, shit.
And
Alright,
I
brother.
sacrificed 1 hour of sleep today, and I worked out as well, so
Oof.
I to recover those muscles. Bye,
Yeah.
bro.
All right. See you, brothers. Thank you so much for the call. Peace out.
Chris.
Thank you, Sabino. Thank you, Giovanni. Peace out, boys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.